Hello and welcome. This is lesson 6.1 today, and I know you don't have the notes with you, so please just follow along, write down a few of the notes, probably do a few of the examples on your notes, and proceed then to the homework. Everything is posted in Schoology, and there are PDF files available if you have a printer at home and want to print your own notes and print the homework page. So here we go. Lesson 6.1 is about the properties of exponents. Our essential question today would be, how do I use the rules for exponents? And we're going to hit probably about 6 rules today, 5 or 6 rules. And the first ones that you can see is right here. We're going to learn to use the zero and negative, not spelled right, negative exponents. So first core concept is the zero exponent. And I would just write down that anything raised to the zero is equal to 1. So they're using A, meaning anything raised to 0 equals 1. I gave you an example, 4 to the 0 equals 1. For negative exponents, another core concept is right here. So I would jot that down. Remember, you can always pause these videos if you get behind or need a little more time to soak in what we're doing. A to the negative 1, or a to the negative n, becomes 1 over a to the n. All right, so those are the first two things we're going to practice, are using those two. And here is example 1 and part A. 6.7 raised to the 0. Well, anything raised to the 0 turns out to be 1. What if I have negative 6.7 to the 0? Compare this with this version. For B, the only thing raised to the 0 is the number that it's directly next to. So in this case, only 6.7 gets raised to the 0. I have this negative outside, and then I'd have 6.7 raised to the 0. This will turn out to be then negative 1. That's a little tricky. Whereas compared to C, the entire number, which is a negative 6.7, is raised to the 0. So 0 applies to all of this, which does turn out to be 1. This is tricky. Get this locked in your brain that these are not the same answer. That 1 is equal to negative 1 and C is equal to 1. Those will be tricky questions on a test. So make sure you review those, maybe star those, that you understand that concept. D, we go to this concept of the negative exponent, and it makes it go down below. So this 3 value with the negative exponent will become 1 over 3 to the positive 2. The negative is what forces this argument to go down below. And then, of course, I can do 3 squared, which is 9. Negative 2 raised to the negative 4. Well, the negative exponent will cause this to go down below. And now it's the number, negative 2, that gets raised to the 4th. That's like saying negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. And 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. We would get 1 over 16. As we know, negative times negative makes positive, and the third negative times the fourth negative makes a positive as well. We will end up with a positive answer on that one. Letter F, 1 over 5 oops, I'm sorry, it's already down below, isn't it? This negative here now will make the 5 squared come up above. So rather than being moved to the denominator, it is in the denominator, so it moves to the top as a 5 to the positive 2, and that we know turns out to be 25. There's a couple here that you can try, so go ahead and pause and walk through these 3 real quickly and then come back. And okay, here are my answers. The first one I got 1. The second one I got 1 over 8. And the third one, letter I, is a little tricky The top, of course, is going to be -1 because the negative was not affected by the zero property. The bottom 2 to the -2 becomes 2 to the +2. Since it was in the denominator, it moves to the numerator. And then I have the negative times 2 squared, which is -4. All right, the third example, this is our final example. We pick up 3 more core concepts. You can see them up above. The product of powers. So if I have a product going on, we can see the dot meaning multiplication and product means multiplication. So I'm just going to write that off to the side if you want to clarify what product means. There you go. I have a to something and a to something different. What we would do with those exponents is add them. So I would add to your notes, a to the m times a to the n gives us a to the m plus n. If you need a precise example, I gave you one of 4 to the 6 times 4 to the third equals, we will add those exponents 6 plus 3, which would give us 4 to the ninth. Quotient, of course, quotient means division. So the division between two powers. A power is, sometimes we think of the power just as the number up above, but a power really is the entire piece, a to the m, not just, m is really referred to as the exponent. A power is the combined piece, a to the m. So the quotient of these two powers, a to the m over a to the n, will be subtraction instead of addition when it was a product. So just keep that in mind. We'll use subtraction. Here's a hard example if you'd like, more clarity there. Power of a power. So I'm seeing a power raised to an outside power. In that case, we multiply the exponents. So make sure you jot these 3 rules down, and we'll move on. Okay, here we go. The first one, I have a power times another power. In that case, we're going to follow rule 1, the product of powers, and I'm going to go 3, 2 plus 6. I add these exponents. That gives me 3 to the 8th. And then I would grab a calculator. If you don't have one, grab one, pause for a moment, and get your calculator. I'm going to put 3, use the caret key to get that raised position. Even a scientific should have that caret key, that raised up. Put 8 in there and enter, and we get 6561. So 6,561. For B, I notice I have division going on. I'm going to use the quotient rule, which says to subtract our powers. So the one thing that has to be true is these bases have to be the same. We have -4, -4. So we have -4 raised to the 2 minus 7. That means we have -4 raised to the -5. Ooh, now we have a negative exponent. And you recall what we had to do for negative exponents. It pushes it down below. So we will have 1 over -4, which is in parentheses, raised to the 5th. And now I'm going to take and use parentheses, put -4, so that my negative gets raised to the 5th as well. That's why I have it in the parentheses. Put it in there, and I get 1 over -1024, 1024. And then rather than having the negative in the denominator, I'm going to put it up in the numerator, or I guess I put it out front, but it could go anywhere. Up top, middle, bottom. Bottom's not very conventional. Why did that stay negative? Well, if we're raising a negative to an odd power, we're going to have an odd number of negatives multiplied, which will result in a negative answer. On to C, I'm going to clear my page. C is clearly an example of power raised to a power. So in that case, we're going to take Z and Z to the 4th and multiply then by a -3. We multiply those exponents. So this is supposed to look like a dot, and that's going to give me Z to the -12. Oh, and we understand what a negative exponent does. it moves it down below. So now I get 1 over z to the 12th. Example 3, you can try these on your own if you want. I'm going to walk through them and just to make sure you get them right. Otherwise, just page forwards and look at the final answers once you've done yours. Okay, a power times a power is the product rule. I add the exponents, giving me 10 to the negative 2, and a negative exponent says move it. If it's on a numerator position, move it to a denominator. Looks like we get 1 over 100. The next one, power times a power. This is a product of powers. We're going to add still. 9 plus a negative 9. Well, that's going to be a 0, isn't it? X to the 0. And we know the 0 property says that the answer will be 1. A quotient. I got division going on. Let's look at the quotient power rule. And that says to take that base, negative 5, and raise it to the 8 minus 4. That gives me negative 5 to the positive 4. And, I think I'll use my calculator. I know 5 to the third is 125. I think this is going to be 625, but let's just verify. So we're going to put in parentheses negative 5, so that negative gets raised to the fourth as well. And yes, indeed, it is 625. Why did we turn out with a positive? It shouldn't be too mysterious. We have an even number of negatives. If we're raising to the fourth power, then we've got negative 5 multiplied 4 times, and negative times negative makes positive, negative times negative makes positive. We will end up with a positive answer. 3 more to go, and here are my answers. Y, 6 minus 7, since it's a quotient, y to the negative 1, 1 over y, using that negative exponent rule. Power to a power says to multiply the two exponents, and that's going to give me 6 to the positive 2, and that would be 36, right? Another power raised to the power, what should we do? We should multiply those, shouldn't we? And we get w to the 60th, and there's our final answer. Okay, that covers the notes today, and go on into your homework. Here's the first part. You can just use a sheet of paper and write your answers down. And then here is the second part, in case you don't have a printer. You can view it either here, or you can print it out, or you can open the PDF from Schoology and view it that way. Have a good day.